This episode is brought to you by Sterling Financial Management. If you've left teaching to start your own business, whether it's tutoring, coaching, consulting, or something creative, we're here to help you grow it with confidence. From bookkeeping and tax returns to full financial strategy and virtual finance office support. We help service-based business owners get clear on their numbers and plan for profit. No jargon, no judgment, just smart financial guidance from a team that really gets it. Find out more at sterling-financialmanagement.co.uk. Download some of our helpful guides for starting out and take the stress out of your business finances. Welcome to Leave Teaching And, the podcast that's all about transformation and new beginnings, with Ruth Laqui, Lindsay Fekete and myself, Carrie Ann Booth. If you're a teacher or educator who's had enough of the classroom grind and are ready to discover a whole new way to earn, live with freedom and enjoy an excellent quality of life, you're in the right place. Throughout this series, we'll be discussing a range of topics aimed at helping you leave teaching and start a business, inspiring you with real life stories, strategies and guidance. So today we want to talk about the positive aspects of running our business. Our podcast is all about being positive about leaving the classroom and the amazing life that you can create afterwards. So we want to share some of our highlights and successes since we've left and go a little bit deeper into those things. And they're not necessarily what you think they might be. So Ruth, do you want to tell us about the highlights for you? What's your successes been?
Absolutely. So there's lots of different successes that I could think about or talk about, but I think one of the biggest things for me when I think about what are the successes of my business are not the normal things like you're saying. So people typically think like success, like how much do you earn, what car do you drive, what this, what that. But I don't want to talk about any of that. I want to talk about what true success means to me. And that will actually be different to all of you. So for some people, that might be an indicator of success, and that's a lovely thing to have. But the real success for me there's a few things really. So the first one being the flexibility that having my own online business has enabled me to have. And now I can do every single school run. I can be there to pick my children up. If I get a phone call in the day, I can drop everything 9 times out of 10. Even recording this podcast, I could literally be like, can we just pick it up another day and do that tomorrow? It's not a problem. I don't have that to like seek permission from anybody, and that to me is like such a success, having that autonomy over how I spend my time, what I do with my time, and not having to ask, when you go back to school, like I can think of things like there was a funeral that I didn't go to that I regret not going to. But at that point, it was the same as SATS week. I was a senior leader. I was like, I just can't leave everybody in the lurch with this. And now I look back, and at the time I did as well. I was like, I can't believe I didn't go. And I don't think anyone else would understand this unless, like, you guys will understand it. But when you're in that, you really are like, no, I can't let them down. I can't let the staff down. I can't let the children down. It's that week. What if someone can, like, it was just an absolute no-brainer. So for me, success is doing life on my own terms. And we absolutely make the most of that as a family. So last year, my little boy's, he's 5 now, so he started school in September. And I was like, we've got this year before he starts school. Let's go and travel. And I've always wanted to do it. I absolutely love traveling. I will get the bugger. Well, we go regularly, but like a big stint. So we went traveling around Southeast Asia. I ran my business from my laptop and my phone while I was halfway across the world. I would never have been able to do that if I'd have stayed in the classroom ever. I would have probably ended up paying double the price to go in the school holidays, if not more. But actually, I just wouldn't have been able to do it either, because my husband would have been in his employment. So the online business that I have now built, we work together. So actually, for me, that is such a big success that we now both work on that little business that I started, we do together. And it enables us to have that complete freedom to be able to go and do things like that, which to me, that is complete success. Being there for my children, being able to travel more, being able to run my business from anywhere in the world, literally doing anything, and not having to be seeking permission for the simplest of things. Like, I, I make the choices, I make the calls, which I absolutely love. And then the other thing that I would say about a success story is still pursuing my career. So because I went down the consultancy route, I still get to advise, talk about education and my philosophies and what I believe is best based upon the research that I read, based upon the practices that I see. And I now get to do that internationally. So that to me is a huge success. Like, if I'd have stayed as a deputy head teacher, no doubt I would have maybe done a sideways move, or I might have progressed to a head teacher. But there is no way I would have been getting on an aeroplane to fly to a different country to stand and deliver a talk to educators like around the world. Like, that to me is mind blowing and would have never happened if I'd have stayed in the classroom. So the opportunities as well, I think, that you can go out and chase if that's something you want, are 100% there for you, which I really like.
I think that's fantastic. And I love what you were saying about flexibility. And so many ex teachers or teachers that want to leave that I talk to, like the best thing they say about running their business is the freedom and the flexibility. Like, you think we spent however many years we were teaching. So, like, 21 years I spent living my life by a timetable that was not sort of organized by me at all. So, at 8:40 you have to do this, at 9 you do this, and 9:15 you've got, so like you have no say in like how your day is run. You have no say in when you take time off work, when you're in work, what you do when you're in work. Like the amount of say you have is so small, isn't it? And like when you realize that you've got that freedom, um yeah, it's just amazing. It's fantastic. And I was the same. I didn't take my children. So I've got 13-year-old twins, and I didn't take my children to school on their first day of reception. And I didn't take them to school any of their first days of school until I left when they were in year 6. So I missed that whole primary education of that, like that first day at school, because to me, I didn't even for a second like doubt that I had to be in my own school, welcoming my school children into school. It never even crossed my mind that I could not do that and be there for like my own too. So I think, like, looking back, we become a bit indoctrinated, don't we? And don't realize like how little freedom we might have. So Carrie Ann, what are your highlights and successes so far?
I think following on directly from what you two are both saying and kind of building on that, you are, as a teacher in school, you're almost institutionalized. And it's like I wanted to be a teacher so much that I did anything to fit into that mold, which is weird because when I was at school, I was the kid that started the petitions off so girls could wear trousers. I was the girl that used to get in trouble for dyeing my hair or cutting my hair too short. I even got in trouble for wearing an ankle length skirt as well in a Catholic school, which absolutely blew my mind. I was like, what? You want me to show my legs? So I was always that kid at school. I was the bright kid, I was the clever kid, but I was the kid who always spoke up for whatever I felt was wrong or whatever I felt needed changing. And I always wanted to be myself. I always dressed a little bit differently. I maybe didn't fit in. I never followed fashion. And then when I became a teacher, I just slipped right in, followed all the rules, wore a business dress that I felt so uncomfortable in. I'd be turning up in like trousers, tailored trousers and shirts, and I wasn't allowed to dye my hair or have piercings. And I used to get dressed in the morning and feel so uncomfortable, kind of shoehorning myself into this teacher shape that was being dictated by somebody else. And it used to drive me up the wall. I used to be so angry that why would my pink hair affect my teaching ability? Why would a facial piercing mean that my kids weren't going to get A stars and A's at A level? And it used to wind me up. And I got so angry about it, but never did anything about it. I was so afraid of not being a teacher and so afraid that I might lose my job or get sacked. Like, I felt like one of the kids. I felt like I was going to end up in detention because if I had the wrong hairstyle or the wrong type of trousers on. And I look back now and it blows my mind that I fitted in and conformed so much when that isn't who I am at all. And being a teacher, although, and I think for a lot of teachers, being a teacher is your identity. It is a vocation. I think that's part of the reason why there's so many problems in education, because we're vocational superheroes instead of actually thinking, no, it is a job. And I think because of that, it completely diluted who I was, even to the point where I was listening to crap music. And when I did think about my business, I remember rebranding my business, and I started to rebrand like the colours that you see behind me. And I was putting these colours in because that's kind of what fitted in with everyone else. And I remember doing like a little vision board, and the person who was asking me to do it was like, right, put your favourite bands in, put your favourite colours in. And as I was doing this, and this was before I'd left teaching, I was like, oh my God, what? Who have I become? And I'd become like this really watered down version of myself. And the minute I walked out of the classroom, I had my hair dyed rainbow colours. A few months later, I had piercings in my face, and I live in my Doc Martens and jeans. And it's unbelievable what some people might perceive as such a small, tiny thing, like the clothes you are wearing, what an impact it's had on my life. And I get up now, I put clothes on that I feel comfortable in. I look in the mirror and see my pink hair and piercing, and it makes me smile. And I just feel like myself again. And I almost feel like I lost 18 years of who I was. And it's like, it's crazy. So I think to anybody out there who's listening, it might not seem like a big deal fitting in, being a teacher, wearing the right clothes, wearing the right shoes. But actually think about who you really are. And for me, transforming back into myself, being unapologetically me, has been like one of the biggest things for me. Like in terms of my mental well-being and happiness, like I actually feel like me again. And I've started listening to my old pop punk music and singing along in the car with my pink shades on. And just, I'm so happy. Like, and I don't think you can put a price on that. You know, you listen to lots of business gurus going, oh, you can earn 7 figures before you've brushed your teeth. And I'm like, oh, I'm happy with my pink hair and just feeling like myself again. And it's just so lovely. And I think moving on from the confidence to be me has helped in the business, because now I'm confident about being visible, talking about myself, talking about the business, promoting the business. And I think two massive things for me around visibility are like media exposure and applying for and winning awards. So before I left teaching, there's no way I'd be thinking about, oh, how can I get on TV? How can I get in a newspaper? Oh, how can I get on the radio? Whereas now I'm like looking for every single opportunity where I can get out there so people can see me. Not because I want to be famous, because I don't want to be famous, but I want people to know about how we can help children, how we can make science more fun. And honestly, the year since I left teaching, the amount of opportunities that have come my way from saying yes and just looking for different things has been insane. I've been in local press, I've been in national press, I've been on the radio, I've been on TV. I met Keir Starmer because I was working for The Sun, being the shadow education secretary and giving my opinions on education. And there's just no way that would have happened when I was in school, because one, I wouldn't have wanted to because I wasn't feeling confident. Two, I wouldn't have got the day off to go swanning down to London to talk about my thoughts on education. And three, it just wouldn't have been on my radar at all. So now I always tell other people, other business owners, that, you know, being visible is like one of your biggest marketing strategies. And even if you think that it's not quite the right visibility, like, I don't know, an interview about parenting might not directly relate to your business, you can always shoehorn your business in there and say that that's what you do now. And I think that's really important, because people want to see you as a person. People don't want to see a diluted version of you who's conforming to what people say you should conform to. And then talking about awards, again, in teaching, like, how many times did other staff, senior leaders, children, like, when do they ever say thank you? When do they ever say, oh, you're doing such a great job, I think you're wonderful? It just doesn't happen. The only thing I used to get told is, you need to do more, you need to work harder, you need to do this. Whereas now I get nominated for awards, I apply for awards, and that process in itself is amazing, because you get to review what you're doing year on year. You get to see the amazing positive things you're doing. You apply for award, you might get it, you might not, but you get to like review and celebrate your achievements. If you do get nominated or get to become a finalist or even win the award, that's like the cherry on the cake. And I don't know about you, but I'm sometimes quite externally motivated. I was the kid at school who collected house points, gold stars, certificates. So as an adult, as a business owner, I quite like the awards. And if someone external reads my application and goes, bloody hell, yeah, she's doing a great job, and then gives me a trophy, I'm over the moon. I know it might seem like such a minor thing, but for other people to go, we think you're doing a cracking job, here's a shiny trophy, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm doing a good job. And I think the confidence building around all of that, being myself, doing what I want in my own way, and then other people tell me that I'm doing a great job, yeah, my confidence has gone from like floor level to the moon. And it's just been, this past year and a half has been a revelation, really. It's just been absolutely lovely. So yeah, the money's nice. I earn more than I did when I was a teacher, but it's all the non-monetary things that make a difference and make me happy. So yeah.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, when you think about what you've achieved in the last 18 months, I am really interested actually from both of you. So we've talked about confidence. So from leaving teaching, how long did it take for you to feel like you'd got your confidence back? Because I know my confidence was shot to pieces when I left. And I talked in the last episode how I went for an intervention job and didn't get it, and then just like plummeted lower. And it probably took me about 12 months before I started to like lose that feeling that I could be myself and I could talk about things that I wanted to talk about. And yeah, Ruth, how long do you think after you left teaching, or were you confident like when you left? No.
Yeah, absolutely not. I think going into an industry that you're not in is completely new. You know, like going into being an entrepreneur is completely new to all of us. But I also had another thing to navigate as well. So I had my little boy, and I've had 2 children now, but I always say, like, every time I have a child, it takes me like 2 years to feel like me again. So I've always breastfed my children. I've always co-slept with my kids, like parental choices that impact me as well. So then also running a business alongside that, there's loads of things that can sort of knock your confidence, and not even your confidence, just dealing with like having children, having babies, your body adjusting, your body changing, having to like feed your children, just everything that you have to do. So I mean, I've sort of divulged, but what I was trying to say was that it's not like you leave teaching, you start your business, and then you've got this confidence, and that confidence stays there forever. Your life is dynamic, isn't it? And there's points where, you know, in 2021, I got invited to meet the King. That for me was like, when we're saying like awards, accolades, like I was like, where on earth do I go from here? Like, who do you meet next? At that point, my confidence was sky high. I was like, I'm taking over the world. And then things happened in my personal life. So I actually had a molar pregnancy. Then I went through like having my little girl. And actually, even though it wasn't directly related to my business, just like the energy and all of those things that other parts of my life took, it didn't drain my confidence, but I wasn't in a position where I could show up as much, or I could, because you're doing everything yourself. Um, so, I'd be succeeding in this area, but then I'd be like, this area is not here, this area is great, this area is not here. So I don't really know what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is, from leaving teaching to starting my own business, that was organic. Organically, the more I did, the better I got, the more confidence I got. I think consistency is really key, but also acknowledging that we're all human. We all have things that go on in our life. And actually, when you become an entrepreneur, it can be one of the loneliest places ever, because actually you haven't got your staff room, you haven't got your colleagues from work. It is just you that is now responsible for bringing in your salary, paying for your kids, raising you, doing everything. So it's natural for your confidence to go up and down, and for you to find your feet sometimes, not find your feet sometimes, but be consistent, and you will be you. You will find yourself, and it will come. I'm quite a confident person, I would say, but now, what am I, like nearly 5 years on? Now I'm like, yeah, I'm a CEO. Yes, I run 3 businesses. Yes, we have this flexibility. Yes, we have this freedom. Yes, we earn money. That's 5 years on, to be like at that point with 2 kids on in the middle of it as well.
And I think, yeah, definitely it's a roller coaster, isn't it? But I think I've never gone back down to feeling that low, my confidence feeling as low as it was when I left teaching. And I think the reason that, as you were talking about, as we grow our businesses, we're doing new things all the time, and we're pushing ourselves, and we're moving forward. So the confidence, the wobble can happen when it's like, oh, that's new again, and that's a bit different again, and will I be any good at this bit? But I think that, don't necessarily expect that, you like you say, you leave teaching and the next day you're like, whoa, I'm going to take on the world. Like, you almost need a bit of transition time to acclimatize to a different life and a different way of living, whether you go on and start a business or do anything else, I think.
We're so dead set on life being this really nice linear line like this, and life just isn't. Like, personal life isn't, business life isn't, teacher life isn't. Like, we know that. We are teachers. We are so used to being like, I've got a cracking day today, I've got this. Then your child comes in and all hell has broken out at home, and your TA is absent, and you probably don't even have a TA now. We're in 2025, but we are so used to that. And I think the key is to be consistent, is to be committed, and confidence comes from doing, from saying yes, from taking the opportunities and giving it your best shot. But like Carrie-Anne was saying before about being herself, that's the ultimate confidence booster. We don't have to be somebody we're not. We can choose what we talk about. I remember sitting in a lecture when I was at university. Do not ever show yourself online with a picture with a drink in your hand. Do not ever show yourself online in a swimsuit. Do not have a life. Do not go out. Do not get tagged in a nightclub picture. Like, you're saying this to 18-year-olds. I understand why. It's a profession. But actually, we are also humans. And now, when you get that confidence to 100% be you, that is your USP, and that is your confidence, and that is the moment when your business will boom. But equally, don't think that you'll continually have that confidence, because imposter syndrome is real at whatever level you're at. It just comes in at a new level, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Carrie-Anne, do you feel the same? Was it like an ongoing journey?
I think for me, I must be similar to Ruth in that I've always felt fairly confident, but I think the best analogy I can give is maybe like being like a caged bird. So like the day I walked out of the classroom was like the day somebody opened the cage. So I like instantly felt free, but I maybe didn't fly very far at first. And it's like Ruth said, if you're being consistent and you're committed to what you're doing, it gives you that confidence. So every day I get up as a business owner, I fly a little bit further, I get a little bit braver. So yeah, that confidence is growing daily for me. And I think, yeah, it's just a journey, isn't it? The more you do, the more you learn, and the more you can change and try new things. I'd be really interested to hear what what you think your wins are, Lindsay, from doing your business, and what's changed since you've left teaching.
I think quite similar in that the flexibility, the freedom, the control. I think I like control. I might even be a bit of a control freak. But I like knowing, I like having a structure, I like knowing what I'm doing. So, in that way, school worked really well for me in that sort of, on a Monday, we teach this, in the morning, we teach this. But the lack of control of having, of making it fit the way that I wanted to fit, I don't think I appreciated that until I left and realized how I could do it myself. And it's not just about the control, like the structure of my day, or like choosing what I do on a different day. It's about choices for me. So I know we've talked about, like, it's not about money, but for me it was a little bit about money at the beginning, in that I was in a slightly different position when I left. As I said in the last podcast, I became unwell, so I feel like it was chosen for me that I was leaving. I didn't like actively make the choice. I just knew I could not carry on down the path that I was on because it was making me so unwell. Um, and my husband had been made redundant twice, in through the COVID time, and he'd started his own business as a result of that about 3 months before I left my teaching job. So we'd gone from like our whole lives together. We'd been together since our mid 20s, and we got to like our mid 40s, and we had always been employed. And we went from that to us both being self-employed, and that was really scary. And I had a lot of fear around, like, how are we going to pay the mortgage, how are we going to, feed the kids and pay the bills, and all those things were real anxiety points. But because of that, I knew I was going to make it successful. I knew I didn't want to go back into schools. I had a backup plan. I always thought, well, I can always do supply. If I need to, I could always do supply, but I really didn't want to. So I worked really hard. I did a lot of hours and a lot of learning and a lot of growing in those first few months when I left teaching. I got to the point where I knew that I could earn enough money that I wouldn't need to go back into teaching. And then, as life tends to happen and things happen and change in our families and circumstances, we decided to take my little boy out of state school. We decided that it was going to be much better for him to go to an independent school, and I had the choice to do that. We could make enough income in our businesses. I could make sure that I was bringing enough into my business to cover that unexpected costs that we hadn't thought about at the time, and also the flexibility to do that. If I was in a school, there's absolutely no way that I could have been at home whilst my son was going to his new school. It's an online independent school. He's at home, I'm at home. And that option just would have not even been on the table at all. If I'd have wanted to take him out and give him that support, I would have had to give up my job completely. And the fact that we could choose that was just life changing, and made me really, really appreciate the fact that I'd got my own business and I could make those choices. It was really important.
That's amazing that you were able to make that decision because, like you say, as teachers, we almost have a cap on our income, we have a cap on our free time, we have a cap on our choices. And yeah, I absolutely think being an entrepreneur, being a business owner gives us that flexibility of choice. And we don't have that cap on earning it, which is crazy, isn't it? Because you look at those pay scales as a teacher, and you're wishing yourself up that little ladder, and then you get in the TLRs, and then you want to get onto the upper pay scale, but there's always a ceiling, there's always a limit. Whereas now I feel like there isn't a limit. It's not that I want to maybe go away and earn tens of millions, but it's the fact that I could go and earn what I want to, and I can make those choices, and I'm not limited to someone else's pay structure. And I think we're really lucky that we've got those options.
Yeah, absolutely. It isn't about just earning more and more and more money. It's about having the choice to what to do, what you want to, that fits your family's lifestyle and to fit how you want your life to look. And the only other way we could have done that in teaching, like you say, is go up the pay scale, And that's it, because we can't do overtime, we don't get paid commission, we don't get paid anything extra than our salary. So over the years of teaching, it's always just been, if we want to spend more money on one thing, we've just got to cut back in a different area of our life. And actually not having to do that anymore is really liberating. It has been fantastic hearing about your highlights and your successes, and how we have all grown our businesses to make the lifestyles that are important to us. And in the next episode, make sure you join us. We're going to be talking about whether leaving teaching is right for you. So make sure you follow us on social media. The links are in the show notes, and subscribe so that you don't miss our next episode. I can't wait to see you there.
You've been listening to the Leave Teaching And podcast with me, Ruth LeQuee, Lindsay Peckety and Carrie-Anne Booth. If you've enjoyed our conversation today, don't forget you can follow us on socials to hear about future episodes, events and ways to help you leave teaching and start your own business.